How are we supposed to talk about this?
I don't know.
I'm just gonna cry. Hi all. This week I'm here with my best friend Cassandra, and we are going to be reviewing Rainbow Rowell's new book, Wayward Son, which is the sequel to Carry On, which is the spin-off book she wrote from Fangirl. If you haven't read Fangirl, you absolutely should, especially like talking about the whole intersection of mental health and art. It's basically like if you're someone who uses fandom and fiction as a way to cope with unhappiness or mental health issues, Fangirl is your book, 100%. And in Fangirl, the main character is obsessed with this fictional series that's clearly loosely based on Harry Potter, but then like it explodes from there. And yes, loosely based. Like people call it an AU. It's not a Harry Potter AU. It's just, it's not. It makes me so mad. So she's obsessed with this novel, Carry On, and then Rainbow ended up writing Carry On, and then this is the sequel to that. So
that we've waited for 4 years for.
It's been too long. And yeah, so she basically wrote her own fan fiction, which I'm in love
Iconic.
with. It's so iconic. She is an icon. She is everything. She is our like goddess fangirl.
Literal goddess.
I can't take her. If you can't tell, we're kind of fans, so yeah. I don't even know where to start. I figured maybe we could like do a quick non-spoiler review and then go into spoiler talk. So people if they don't want spoilers, just watch until we say there are going to be spoilers, and we're just going to ruin everything because we realize we can't not talk about everything. So
it's going to be hard.
All right. So what are your non-spoilery thoughts overall for this book?
I really loved this book. I thought it was a very good sequel. Of course, Rainbow delivers with her writing and her storytelling. The characters, I love them so much. I'm so glad that they came back. I think it's realistic. I think that it's true to the characters. I think that she did a great job portraying the trauma of the last book and how that will develop into this book and into their future. So overall, definitely a great sequel and definitely worth the 4-year wait.
No, I completely agree. And I feel like honestly, if you're curious about the tone, this could just be called like PTSD, the novel. Could 100% be that. And I know some people were surprised by that, but I feel like you had to kind of know that was going to be the vibe of this book because that was so present in Carry On too.
There's no way it couldn't be with everything that Simon went through in Carry On and everything that they faced at the end of the book. And like even before that in Carry On, like they've never been good communicators. They've never had a chance to like be normal like adults or teenage people. So like there was really no way that they were ever gonna be, oh, everything's fine now. Like there was never gonna be a perfectly happy ending for these people.
Well, I mean, like literally in Carry On, Baz is like, let's be terrible boyfriends. Like that's, they knew. And so like, yeah. And that's not going to spoilers, just a general tone thing. Like it is like mental health stuff, like warnings, like it is hard with depression and PTSD. It's all there, but I think it's in a way that is super relatable. Like I have PTSD. It was difficult to read some of this, but in a way that was like, oh God, that's not a healthy way. I'm thinking I need to work on this and I'm going to bring this up to my therapist. So yeah, but I agree. I love it. I think it's a perfect sequel. I think it was worth the 4-year wait. I think honestly, it's so good that I would encourage people who didn't read Carry On to read it so they can get this story too. There are things she did technically writing-wise that I've never seen anyone else do before.
There was some really amazing differences. Like Rainbow said actually at her book signing that she doesn't like to do the same thing every time.
Yeah.
And I think that really showed in this one because it wasn't just a sequel. Like there was, like you said, technical differences and like just like really, I would never have thought of that kind of ways to like introduce the book and to like end the book, and it was just really interesting the way that she wrote it.
Right? It honestly feels kind of experimental. It's almost got like a bit of an art film vibe, which is really interesting with like a YA fantasy romance. I love that combination.
Like a black and white, like noir film.
Oh my God, I need that now. That has to happen. All right, should we get into spoilers? Yeah, okay. Okay, first off, I understand. And I just want to say, before I get like too emotional, I love this book. I think it's great, and I think that everything that happens makes perfect sense and had to happen. I'm not faulting it. But at the same time, just emotionally, how has Simon not said, I love you. How has that not happened yet? Like, even, like, we start off, like, okay, we went to Rainbow Rowell's book launch for this. We were very lucky. We got to go to that in Brooklyn, hear her speak about the book, and then on the way home, we played the audiobook, because we're pathetic. And the whole time we're like crying and slapping each other because it starts off with Simon being like, yep, I have to break up with him. And even knowing that that's the case, the fact that he has never said I love you the whole time still.
And
I understand it. He
Because
feels it.
like,
It's not like he
it's in the
doesn't know.
narration, he feels it.
Yeah,
so,
it's not like he's like, oh, I don't know if I love you. I don't even know what I feel. Like, I've been through so much. Like, he knows. He knows you are the love of my life. I will never be with anyone even close to you. But I can't tell you, and I understand why. But also, like, oh my god, I just want to jump in the books, and I want to take them all to therapy, and feed them, and slap them.
Because he quit going to therapy.
Yeah, he quit going to therapy.
Why did you do that,
Which,
Simon?
again, like I said, I'm trying so hard to focus on, like, the mixture of, like, mental health and pop culture, and this examines it perfectly without beating you over the head. Because, like, literally, Simon, like, it's the most, I literally want to, if someone's like, I don't really understand what you mean with the way you think of yourself with depression, but the first chapter we get of Simon's point of view, where he's like, no, if you fuck things up, you are a fuck up. That is who you are. This makes sense. Like, that to me is the way, like, my depression works, where it's not an emotional overreaction. It just seems logical. Like, anytime I get depressed, it's like my head's just been cleared, and I'm like, oh yeah, this is matter of fact. This is obvious. Of course I'm not going to be with this amazing person, because why would I want to ruin the life of somebody I love? And he's not doing that in a melodramatic, look at me attention way. It's just factual. It's like, this is what I do, therefore this is who I am, and I'm not going to do that to you. And like, and he's thinking that way because, like, you know, his therapist basically gave him hard work to do, and he's like, nope, I'm out. I'm done.
And when you're a Baz, you don't know how to help the person.
No.
So you just, like, give them their space because you think that's what they want. And then they're like, oh, of course you're pulling away from me because I suck. And it's like, that's not what they're doing. They don't know how to help or what to do. And because, as we mentioned before, they're such bad communicators, that it's not even like they are talking about this and trying to work it out. Like, they're both just like, well, time to break up.
And like, it makes sense that they're terrible communicators because whoever taught them how to communicate.
Exactly. They spent the first 7 years of their life literally fighting each other.
Yeah. And like, Baz has a terrible family that doesn't care about him or communicate at all. Simon doesn't have a family. Like, the closest he had was Ebb, and Ebb was murdered, and Ebb also doesn't really know how to communicate to people.
He doesn't even know was his dad.
Exactly. So it's like, oh my god, you're right. It's just like, it's a lot, and it makes sense. It makes perfect sense that they wouldn't know how to communicate. And it's just, it's hard. And that's one of the things too that I think is really different in this book. One of the technical differences, I was just thinking about this last night because all I do lately is think about this book. And I love the fact that Baz is like the trope of like the broody, dark, moody character. But in this book, because he's basically said fuck you to his family and he's doing his own thing, he's suddenly like a puppy. Like, he's still himself. He's still broody. He's still like dramatic. But like, overall, he's like, just, I love you, and I'm taking care of people, and I will do anything for you, and I love you, and I'm happy, and life is good. Like, he's very positive now, whereas Simon, the hero, is now just like the brooder.
I really like that too. It's a really good point. And I love that, like you said, he's like protecting people, and like he wants to just make sure everybody else is like happy. And like, when they go to America, because the plot is they go to America for a road trip, Penny thinks it's going to help her resolve her issues with Micah and help Simon like get off the couch and actually like start to live again.
And she's worried she hasn't heard back from Agatha.
So they go to visit Agatha in California.
Yeah, she's living in California because she's abandoned magic and
and
taken
she
off.
Literally just ran away.
Adopted a dog and thrown away her wand.
Named Lucy, which is so many things. So they go to America and everything, but like throughout this journey, Baz really starts to like accept who he is and like come into himself. He meets a group of vampires, and one of them kind of teaches him a little bit more about being a vampire, because he had no like tutelage on that. Like, he was just like, vampire equals bad, I am bad, like I will do my best to not be bad, I will eat, you know, deer and stuff, But
it definitely feels like the trope, especially in like older novels, of like an older gay man taking on a younger gay man.
Interesting.
I definitely got that vibe.
I like
where it's kind of like,
completely-
you don't have to be ashamed of who you are. You're not a monster. You can let this out.
That's in your face, and I missed it.
I didn't think of it for like 3 days after because I was so focused on the vampire element, and because like the queerness isn't really a huge issue in the book.
No,
like
not at all.
Baz's family is not in favor of it, but not in a "we're going to disown you" way.
No,
just
and,
kind
like-
of in a "oh come on, can't you just marry just for the sake of the family?"
Yeah, and Simon has it a little bit in his mind. Like,
yeah.
like there's one part when they're at the Renaissance Fair, I think, and he's like, we're out in public or whatever.
Yeah, we
but
can't
like,
hold hands, but it's not like the main conflict of the novel.
yeah,
isn't that.
no, exactly. So there is a little bit of that, but I mean, like, that's such a good point.
I definitely feel like it's like the whole like, and almost in that way too, where you're like, oh, is this helpful or is this manipulative? I don't know which,
And
because
spoiler, now we know.
yeah, it's manipulative, of course, because all these poor boys do is get manipulated.
Yeah, the whole time, and
That's
like.
it.
But it does help Baz in a way, even though it is manipulative.
It is still like a good thing for him.
Yeah, because he starts to realize, like, I can eat in public, like, I can control myself. I can maybe, like, sip on things without going crazy.
Yeah, he learns
like,
to control his fangs.
Which is really cool and really powerful. And the
Speaking of
Cheesecake
which,
Factory.
I know, the Cheesecake Factory so much. And I'm going to, like, we can cut this out if you want, but I want to promote, like, she is a phenomenal fan fiction writer. She is so great, to the point that some of her fan fiction, I literally will forget that it wasn't part of Carry On. And so, like, when he learns to retract his fangs, and that when he also learns, like, that I can drink just a little bit, I'm really hoping it means that one of the things that you wrote fan fiction about can actually come to pass. And if you want, we can link that fan fiction story in the comments.
In the comments.
Oh my god, it's so good.
Shameless self-promotion. Well,
I
actually,
will-
it wasn't self-promotion.
Yes,
it was
I will just promote
endorsement.
I will promote, highly endorse. Like, she is brilliant. Like, oh my god, you are just Rainbow Rowell and Joe Rowling rolled into one thing.
But Rainbow says she doesn't read her own fanfic.
I know.
So, like,
I understand why she doesn't.
Me
because
too, 'cause I
Rainbow
would
says
do
she
the
doesn't
same
read
thing.
it because then she can't get those ideas out of her head. And
Which is legit.
it makes
I
so
wouldn't
much
read my
sense.
own stuff either.
for a long time, that's why I wouldn't read fanfiction, period, is because I didn't want to conflate, like, other people's fiction with, like, the real fiction.
Yeah.
Not in a way that, like, looking down on fanfiction, I just know me, I'm like, I'm gonna get these ideas stuck in my head, I'm not gonna like it.
Yeah.
But then I got really into certain fanfiction, and then I'm not nearly as into it as you are, but, like, no, you are, like, it's, like, your thing. I feel like we also need to include the link in the description, because on
This has nothing to do with this book.
No, well, I mean, loosely Harry Potter inspired. And, yeah, Daniel Radcliffe read her fanfiction on Bravo. It's like, I don't know how many times I've watched that video, so I'll also include that link if she's okay with it. We're not very good at promoting ourselves, but we can promote each other. Yeah.
Speaking of, though, when I was hiding in my book just now,
Yeah.
there's new characters, which I was really excited about. Like,
Yeah.
Shepard is one of the new characters they meet in America, and he's honestly one of my favorite characters.
I think he's great because he's a great character. He makes a lot of sense, and I found him annoying, but also relatable.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, oh my god, is this what I would seem like? Because he's not magical, but he knows about magic, and he's obsessed with magic and being led into the world, and I'm like, oh my god, I want to think that, like, if a vampire met me, it would be Edward and Bella. But when I read Shepard, I'm like, oh my god, I would just annoy them.
It's true.
I would just be like a gnat that they couldn't get rid of.
Just be like, hi, saving you again, what's up?
Exactly. Like, she's so good, I feel like, at, like, twisting the tropes. Because I feel like it often is a thing where it's like, oh, you're not magical? Well, now you're exotic to me, and I'm going to be, like, moved. And really, they're just like, oh my god, I don't have time for you. Like, I have bigger things to deal with in my life. But Shepard's a great character.
Yeah, Shepard's amazing.
Yeah.
And, like, the whole book, I was like, is he good? Is he bad? Is he
I did not
manipulative? Is he,
know.
like, a good person? Like, the whole book. And, like, even right up until the last pages, I was like, I don't know what you're doing.
Right? And, like, what's really funny is, like, the whole book, he's like, no, I am telling you the truth. I am telling you everything. And he was.
Yeah.
Like, the whole book,
whole
he was
book.
being incredibly direct. And, like, I think we just are so used to manipulators in these books that we're like, no, you're lying.
Well, because
There's gonna be a
Lamb was
twist.
such a jerk. Like,
yeah.
and, like, we loved him. Like, he was like, oh, let me help you out. Let me
Exactly.
teach you my ways. Like, and he just cared about himself.
It's just, she just twists everything. Oh yeah, the thing that you and I freaked about so much, and this is what I mean, like the technical stuff that's so great, is the book begins with an epilogue. Like, we literally, like I said, we started with the audiobook, and we were like, oh my god, we accidentally screwed up when we're at the end of the book.
Yeah, we, like, skipped ahead or something.
Yeah, so we paused it, and I opened up the book, she was driving, and I'm like, no, it starts with an epilogue. And it's so brilliant, because it's like, you get the epilogue to carry on, and then it's like, okay, but what actually happens to our heroes when we're done with them, basically.
Exactly. So it was like the continuation of the epilogue.
Yeah.
And then like what's really cool is that it ends with prologue.
Yeah.
Which like is interesting because it's not like, oh, the prologue of this book and it went backwards or whatever, but it's like the prologue of their next story.
Yeah, it's like this whole book is like the breathing room between two adventures, because you never see that. You don't see like what happens in between when you're trying to settle and deal with it.
No.
Like it's like a very extended version of Harry like Order of Phoenix this summer, when he's just like having nightmares about Cedric and lost and disconnected. It's like that, but spread out through a whole novel.
Yeah.
Which is, and dealing with the relationships, because Harry, anytime he's in those situations, he's very much not dealing with his relationships then, because he's cut off from the world.
Yeah.
And this is like, well, what if,
you aren't cut off, and what if you have to deal with your relationship?
How are you going to handle that?
And it
like,
doesn't feel like it's forced or filler either.
Yeah.
Like
no.
it feels like a complete adventure novel, but like with that in mind of like, but this is how you would continue on. So it really fits into the carry on theme as well.
Yeah. You know what I just thought of? I hadn't thought it until you were like putting it that way. It's almost like Penny knew they weren't coping with not having an adventure, and so she forced there to be an adventure, because Penny's like the catalyst. She's like, no, Agatha isn't responding, she's in danger, we have to go save her, we have to go pick up like our friend along the way, let's go have an adventure. And I think she's like, and it's true, because the minute like it's scary, the minute Simon starts like killing and fighting, because he does that throughout the book, then he's fine. He's like, oh, I'm great, I'm myself, I know what I'm doing. He'll start like making out with Baz, because he's like, I actually feel comfortable with you. Yeah, because he doesn't even let Baz kiss him now, because he, quote, like, how do you hide from someone while they're kissing you?
Yeah.
It's too much. It's too painful.
It is.
It's a very painful book, but fluffy at the same time.
Oh my god, the truck scene.
The truck scene.
It's like chapter 61 all over again.
It is. And she said at the signing, she's like, oh yeah, there were scenes when I was writing this. I'm like, this is for me. This is good. And I know the truck scene's one of them, because it's so romantic and over the top. I need to reread it still, because we're in debate. We're trying to figure out if they've actually had sex in that scene.
I don't think they did.
I'm not positive.
But also Baz's lists.
Yeah.
Like, I love
Baz's list of like everything he hates, and it plays off like, because in Carry On, Simon has his list of everything he misses and everything he loves. And in this book, Baz comes up with a list of everything he cannot stand, and it's perfect because he's in a American summer in a convertible as a vampire.
Like friggin' Nebraska. I found it.
Okay. See that kissing in. I wasn't sure if that meant he was starting something, and then
I think they're just
butting my head back into the metal of the truck. I didn't know if that was like the movement.
No, I think it's just
know.
like holding like close, because they haven't been close in forever.
That's probably true. But I do like that it's vague too, though.
Yeah.
I feel like, but I also feel like the first time they have sex is going to be a thing, because
they have to be.
They very clearly like haven't slept together yet.
No, yeah, they have. No.
Yeah, I
because
feel like
the one time they tried,
up.
it was mentioned. Like the one time they tried, Simon was having an emotional meltdown because valid, and so they stopped. And like Baz was always afraid to like push him, or well, not push him again, but to suggest it again. Yeah. And Simon never brought it up either.
Which is something I really love about this, is I love how unconditionally Baz loves him, because they're not having sex. At this point, they're not even touching or kissing. Baz knows he's miserable. Baz can tell he's thinking about leaving me, he's going to leave me, he's going to leave me. Like, Baz can tell, and he still just loves him. It never, like, comes up where Baz is like, oh, I'm going to break with him first.
Yeah, no, Baz is just completely there for him.
Yeah, he's completely there for him. He's completely supportive of him. He adores him. Like, it's not like he's like, oh, well, we're not having sex, what even are we? Like, he's like, oh, you can't be close to me because you hate me or because you're so miserable. Like, he doesn't really know why. And his reaction is going to be like, well, what even are we then? Instead, he's just like, you must be hurting.
Yeah, which is really beautiful.
It is so beautiful. Like, it's such a... I'm gonna cry. It's very pure. Like, Baz loves him in a very, very pure way. Yeah. In a very unconditional way.
And it proves, like, Simon can't see it yet. He will. But, like, it proves that, like, it was never about Simon's magic for Baz. Yeah. Like, Baz was never attracted to the power, which is what Simon thinks. Like, right now, Simon's like, oh, well, Baz only wanted me when I was powerful. Like, you know,
he wanted the chosen one.
Yeah, like he wanted, everybody wanted me because I was powerful. Like now nobody wants me because I'm useless and I just have wings and I'm a freak. And Baz is like consistently like, no, that's not why I love you. Like I love you, but he doesn't say it because they're bad at communicating.
Yeah, and they both have reasons for being bad at it, because Simon doesn't want to because he's like, well, if I communicate with you, I'm just going to break up. And Baz is like, I don't want to push you, I don't want to make you miserable, and I don't want to push you to breaking up with me, but they just need to talk. They have to talk, and I wish Penny would talk to them too.
Yeah.
Instead of just like...
But Penny's terrible at communicating.
She is too.
Like, her and Micah basically broke up, like, 6 months ago.
And she had no idea.
And she didn't even realize it, because, like, she's like, yeah, that's fine. Like,
we go, like, 2 months without talking. Boyfriend and girlfriend do that all the time.
Obviously.
And it's not like a whole, like, oh, this is the kind of relationship she wants. She's just clearly not passionate in love. She's like, you know, check mark. Relationship done.
Exactly. Kind of like Simon was. Like, when he was with Agatha and Carry On, he was like, oh, yeah, that's my future sorted if I get a future, so done.
This is what you do. Like,
and, like,
look,
now
I have a family now.
Right? And he's, like, now realizing he gets to, like, choose his future, and he has a chance to, like, do what he wants, but he doesn't know what he wants.
Yeah.
Which is contributing to his emotional state right now.
Something Penny does that I think is another good mental health tie-in that frustrates me so much, I know we've complained about this a lot, is, like, Simon keeps being, again, he's being very realistic and like, this is what's happening. And Simon keeps being like, I'm not magic, because he has no more magic. He can't use magic anymore. And Penny keeps being like, no, you are. You're a mage. Yeah. And just will not hear it. And it's frustrating because I've had people do that too with like, I'll be like, no, I'm really depressed right now. They're like, no, you're fine. Like, you're smiling. You look fine. I'll be like, I'm not doing well. They'll be like, no, you're holding it together. You're fine. And it's like, that's not really helpful. You're just trying to get me to be delusional right now. And it's not like, you know, I'm kind of curious how it's going to tie in, because at the end of the book, when Agatha's like, even if I don't use magic, even if I don't have my wand, I am magic. I wonder how that's going to tie in with Simon, because he can't use magic anymore. But I wonder if it's going to be like a, no, you still are a mage even without magic, or what that's even going to mean. But Penny's not saying it in this like helpful way too, where it's like, no, you don't have your magic right now, but it was such a part of you. You are a part of this world. You save this world. Like, you get to be a part of it, at least from that. She's not saying that. She's just like, no, nothing's changed. Of course you're a mage. And it's like, obviously I'm freaking not, because I can't do anything. So it's like...
Like, if it weren't for Penny and Baz, he wouldn't even go out in public. Like, he'd have wings like a big weirdo.
I love Agatha as a character.
I love Agatha,
please doesn't not come back together.
Ugh, no.
Please. And, like, she doesn't even miss Simon.
I know, not at all. She doesn't miss anybody.
No, she doesn't miss any of them at all.
I really thought she was going to be a lesbian, though.
I know, and
but
they play with it. They so play, because she, like, has a best friend that she's enamored with, and she starts describing this best friend in the same way that, like, Simon and Baz would describe each other and Carry On. Funny. Where it's like, this is obvious.
Like, and her tank top was, like, restful. Like,
right, it's, like, ridiculous, and it's, like, over the top, and then we were, like, freaking out. We're like, oh my god.
Oh my god.
Is she, like, a lesbian or bi? Like, what is happening? And then she's like, oh, sometimes I wish I felt that way about her, because it'd be easier. We're like, okay.
We were like, yeah, whatever. I mean, everybody's felt that way, sure.
Yeah, but we're also bi, so I think we can't say. We're just like, that was my thing for years. I was like, oh, everyone just finds girls really pretty. That's normal. Girls are just pretty. That's it. Took me a long time to realize other girls didn't think that way.
Which reminds me, though, speaking of bi, Carry On tie-in, since we never actually talked about Carry On itself. Yeah. But, like, I love that there's a bi character.
So,
like,
important.
Even if he seems to be mostly bisexual at this point, like, I just love it.
Which he calls himself, and I love
it. He does, and it's so cute.
I'm like, bisexual is going to be what I
say.
And
he's actually kind of like a mutant sexual. Yeah. Because, like, he thinks that the goblin in the first one's hot.
That's true.
And, like, he always talks about, like, the fairies being, or not the fairies, the pixies being pretty.
Yeah, the only time he liked the humans was at the Renaissance fair where they were dressed up as magical beings. He's like, I'm not mad about all the cleavage. I'm like, oh, you're right. And I love, too, that it's not like I feel like it so often happens in fiction especially, where it's like, oh, I'm attracted to a guy after having girlfriends while still being attracted to girls. I guess I'm gay. And it's like, and I know that, like, I use the term gay for myself a lot still, but, like, just to be, like, queer. But, like, I guess I'm, like, homosexual, and it's like, no, you can be bi, you can be pan, you can be omni, like, you could be all kinds of things.
Yeah, and I love that it didn't take away from that.
Yeah. And, like, he's having a hard time understanding that, but, like, he's the chosen one Harry Potter jock. He doesn't know. He's not Ravenclaw.
He's so dumb.
He's not a Ravenclaw.
Definitely a Gryffindor.
I love the cover. Ugh. And, like, I'm definitely a bisexual. Like, I'm in love with Baz. I don't know if it's, like, the first Avenger vibes in the clothing or something, but, like, I'm okay with Simon in the cover.
He got me feeling some type of way.
Right? I like, Baz's shirt, I'm not... Like, Baz's outfit, no, but this outfit, yes, like,
Baz's outfits, honestly, in this whole book, I'm just like, nah, bro.
I kept being like, I'm just not going to picture this outfit. That's what I'm going to do. I'm just not going to think about this outfit happening.
Like, I'm just picturing, like, what's her name? Sophia from Golden
Oh
Girls?
my
just
God.
like a little 90-year-old woman. Just
Yeah. Do you have anything else you want to go over in this?
probably.
It's a great book. It's an easy read, but it's not shallow. I feel like it really tackles a lot of heavy topics without being like after school special or being over the head. No, but it's so great, and I do love like I said, the like anything about like anti-queer is not a main conflict in this.
Yeah.
But it is really heartbreaking to see the little ways that like Baz doesn't care. Baz is just frankly always hated himself and been so uncomfortable in a way that he's kind of over it by now. He's like, well, I am who I am. People don't like me, whatever. My family doesn't like me, whatever. And it's kind of given him this weird kind of strength of like, he's just himself. He doesn't care. Like, he'll wear a scarf in his hair to keep a scarf covering his hair in a convertible so it stays good. Like, he'll wear a floral suit. He'll hold a boyfriend's hand in public because like he's just himself now. He's decided to not change who he is anymore for other people, which is great. And Simon is still really caught up in that and what people expect in the image, and it's so sad to see Baz be excited to hold Simon's hand and then feel Simon let go when Simon thinks someone's looking. Like, that's just, it's so crushing because like
the airplane
you do have to think
scene.
of it all the time. Yeah, and the airplane.
Like there's a scene on an airplane when they're heading over to America, and like Baz is like, oh, like we can like sit next to each other and like cuddle up or whatever, and Simon's like,
yeah,
like, and it's just like, and he makes it just obvious enough that he like doesn't want to do that like Baz like is uncomfortable about it. Like Baz pretends to be asleep, so that like Simon will like snuggle him basically.
Yeah,
like,
so Simon can be closer to him while they like pretend it wasn't intentional.
Yeah,
and like what sets off Simon is there's like a woman in a cross necklace, which now I'm wondering too if that's also a metaphor she's doing where like Baz can't be around crosses and religious symbols because he's a vampire. Maybe it's also like, I'm queer and you're not going to accept me.
That's true.
And now I'm sadder. And it's definitely sad because like I'm Christian and queer, but like I'm used to that. Like I'm used to like knowing someone's religious and just instantly being like, oh, so you're probably against me and you're probably not okay with this. And so like they see like this woman wearing a cross necklace. It's like, cool, like now Simon's not going to touch me. And that's what happens. Like Simon's like, I can't touch you because people are looking. And it's so sad because it's something you really take for granted when you're in a hetero or a hetero-presenting relationship, is that you can normally just hold someone's hand or be next to them or kiss their cheek. Like you even have to, it doesn't have to be like aggressive making out, and people act like, you know, if you touch it's like obsessive PDA, and it's so not fair.
If you and I held hands in Starbucks, no one would give a shit.
And guys aren't allowed to do it, period. You're right.
No, yeah.
Like in a relationship or as friends or anything, because if you're doing it as friends, it means you're gay. And girls can just do it. I was looking at some news story that had like wedding photos today, and the girls were like all pressed up on each other, and most of the guys were distant, and this one guy had his head on someone like this. And I'm like, oh, why can't guys do that more often? They should be allowed. Because I feel like that's something that's lacking a lot. It's like most people need contact and physical touch and that kind of reassurance. And like, I don't like it with a lot of people, but people I'm very close to, I like a lot of it from. And I feel like guys, like the minute they're over like 5, it's like, okay, that has to stop now. You don't get that anymore. And it's not fair. Like, it just makes them closed off. And then, like, they end up like Simon, all, like, repressed and freaked out and confused and edgy the whole time. And, like, I can't be myself ever. And it's so sad.
It is. And it sucks because, like, Simon never had any choices.
No,
and
ever.
So, like, he's just, like, extra repressed.
Yeah.
Like, he's just, like, he never learned social anything. Like, he doesn't know how to think for himself. He doesn't know, like, how to process his feelings. He doesn't know, like, context clues in a conversation. Like,
which is why he likes fighting, because that's the only time he feels like he knows what to do.
Exactly.
Like, he's
it's
so
instinctive.
good. Yeah.
And he's good at it.
Yeah.
So, like,
and it really does tie into the whole, like, this feels very much like a soldier homecoming story. It definitely feels like that. Like, you know, you're only, like, he's only good in battle. He doesn't know what to do with himself when he's not in battle.
John Watson.
Yes. Oh my God.
Like,
yes.
the new
very
adaptation
John
of
Watson.
Sherlock.
Yeah. Very, very John Watson, the BBC.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the Martin Freeman version of Watson. Very, very much that kind of character, but make him like if Watson was forced to be like this like child weapon.
Yeah.
Which is horrible. God, it's so sad. They need therapy. They need hugs.
Why did you put therapy?
Like, again, like, this is not a Harry Potter AU. It's just not. It, like, I think it's brilliant the way it uses the Harry Potter inspiration, because she's like, oh, these are the things that I know move you about Harry Potter. Let's take that and do something different with it. Very heavily inspired by Harry Potter, but not exclusively Harry Potter. It's like all YA fantasy. It's like playing off that. But it's just like Harry Potter's the biggest, and that's where her heart is. So, of course, she's going to pull from that. So, I feel like in that sense, this really feels like what would have happened if the trio had not had Molly Weasley. Like, if there was no Molly Weasley and Hagrid had died. Like, what they would do. Because, like, I feel like if, you know, Simon's clearly, like, the Harry-type character, and then I feel like in this version, like, Baz is, like, a mix of, like, Draco and Ron. You know, it's, like, the best friend trio completion, but also, like, the love interest enemy. It's, like, morphed together.
Even Penny's mom, who's, like, arguably the best mom in the book, she even doesn't,
Yeah.
she's not even really mom-like. She's just kind of like, oh yeah, you're my children, but I raised you to be independent, so good luck with your life.
Yeah, I'm kind of done with you. And then she's kind of a bigot still.
Yeah, like she, even when Simon couldn't have anywhere to go for Christmas, she didn't want him there.
No.
Like, and it's not that she, like, didn't like Simon or whatever.
But he was like, part of, like, the mage's plans or whatever.
And
so,
he was, like, unpredictably powerful and stuff.
Yeah.
So, like,
it's not cool. Like, and it's a really interesting thing, too, because, like, again, I feel like she takes all the Harry Potter things and blows them up, because in Harry Potter, where Sirius is like, you know, the world isn't split up between good people and Death Eaters, and this takes us further, because in this one, like, the Death Eater versions, they're the good side overall.
Yeah.
Like, this is like, they made Dumbledore really bad. Like, not just like, problematic, but for the greater good, but like, actually bad. But he was like, doing it for good reasons. He's like, no, like, we need to let everyone experience magic who's capable of it, and you can't be like this restrictive with it. But then he takes it way too far, and then these people are like, no, like, magic needs to be, like, they're very isolationist with it, very bigoted with who's allowed to use magic, and like, you know, like, humans are the only one that count, and like, fairies don't count, and like, magical creatures don't count, even if they have magic. It's interesting because, like, they were right the whole time about the mage and about Watford going badly. They were correct about all of that, but they're still bigots. And like, Penny's mom is like not a villain, but like, you know, she might have voted for Trump. You know what I mean? Like, it's like that kind of thing, or it's like a right? Like, that's what it is. It's like the thing where it's like, okay, like, maybe you're not in the KKK, maybe you're not like actually committing hate crimes, but like,
I mean, that's a very valid point.
It's very upsetting, though.
It is upsetting.
And that's why Penny's like, no, you know, like, she's close to her mom, but not really.
Yeah, that's a really good point, because it's like, there, like you said, there's no good and bad side, because everybody's everything.
Yeah.
Like, and that's probably another reason why Simon is so conflicted, because he's like, I was on the bad side when this whole time I thought I was a hero. Like, he can't see the gray area of, like, I was doing what I thought was right, and it's not my fault that, like, I was manipulated, or that, like, all of this didn't work out the way we'd hoped or the way we thought.
And
like,
he did end up saving magic.
He did. He literally saved the entire community.
But it was for this, like, obsessive terrorist, basically.
Yeah. And he's probably trying to reconcile the fact that he was the cause of the magic going away in the first place.
But he
like,
had no control over any of that.
Exactly.
So
like, it wasn't his fault he was born.
No.
But, like, he can't, like, reconcile that within himself that, like, oh, yeah, I'm the humdrum, so this is all my fault anyway. Even if I stopped it, and even if I fixed it, all of this happened because of me.
Yeah, so, like, I fixed it, but all I'm doing is negating, like, the horrible thing I did.
Exactly. And what was even the point of me?
Yeah.
Basically. Like, he never says that, as far as I know in the book, but, like, I'm sure that's an internal struggle he's facing. Is, like, what even was the point of me? Because I wasn't meant to have magic. I wasn't meant to be here. I wasn't even meant to be, alive. Like, he was a pawn, and he was created, literally born, to be a pawn in this game. That he didn't
basically
have
just a tool in a war that he wanted nothing to, like, he obviously didn't want nothing to do with it, because, like, he wasn't even born yet.
Yeah.
He's had no say over anything, ever.
Exactly.
Like, so, no one wanted him as a son. You know, his mom did, but he never even got to know her.
Yeah. And I'm like, I understand how she got to the point she got to.
Yeah.
But, like, I still am so frustrated with her. Because, like, I understand, because you see her point of view and carry on. And, like, I understand why she did everything that she did leading up to the exact moment Simon was born. But, like, it just drives me so crazy. Because, like, you can't
She let all that abuse happen. Yeah, she just wanted to convince herself that, like, no, he really does love me. He really... Like, she was caught in a very abusive relationship with the mage. And just wanted to convince herself, oh, he does love me. Oh, he does want to have a child. Oh, he does want to be with me.
And everything will be better once this happens. And I
such
can
a
keep him
common
grounded.
thing.
And I can control this. And it's very, very toxic. And it's very, very much an abusive relationship.
Yeah,
and
it's
it
so
sucks.
abusive.
And you can't, like, tell her. Like, you can't go up to her and be like, Lucy, look what's happened to you.
No, and it's like...
And, like, her friends didn't try.
No.
Like, one of her friends was Penny's mom. And,
Yeah.
like, again, Penny's mom is just kind of like, oh, well, I'm elitist and I hate your boyfriend, so bye.
Yeah,
and, like,
exactly.
And she just wrote her off.
Right, and in this way that's, like, so black and white that it actually tunes you out of listening. Because it's like, well, you just hate him. You're not actually going to offer any constructive feedback, you know?
Yeah.
Basically, it's a book of just a lot of people that need therapy. Baz, weirdly, least of all. He's, like, the most adjusted, but I think he's also the one who's had to internalize and think about himself the most growing up.
True. I feel like he helped himself a lot in that way. Even though it was, like, a really isolating childhood, I feel like it helped him to, like, figure out who he is the most.
It's like, no, but, like, Baz is the most adjusted, which is really interesting.
Yeah.
But Baz just always assumed he was going to die, and I think right now he's like, oh, this is all gravy. Like,
yeah.
Anything I'm getting that's gravy, and this is great, and I'm so excited beginning to go to school, and have a boyfriend, even if he won't touch me, and, like, he's just happy to be alive and to not be forced to kill the person he's in love with.
Yeah.
He's got a very low bar for life.
He does have a low...
God, now I'm just wondering, like, maybe he's not happy and he just has a really low bar, and my depressed self is just like, that sounds great.
Well, that's okay, because the whole book I was like, it's okay, this will be positive. And then I got to the end of the book, and you were like, oh my god, this book was so sad and depressing. And I was like, no, it's so hopeful and exciting. And you were like, what?
That's the thing. We have differing opinions on the end of the book. And I have to reread it, and I haven't yet, because I'm like, I need to just reread the whole book. But, we have differing opinions on whether or not Simon was about to break up with Baz. I think he was.
And I think that even if he was, it was going to be a really positive thing, because he was going to work on himself, and he was going to, like, come back at it and be like, oh my god, great, now we can be happy together because we're both healthy and emotionally ready for each other.
See, I definitely took it as I'm going to break up with you. I don't belong in the world of magic. You go be in the world of magic. I'm going to go get a muggle job, marry a muggle girl, drink, and that's it. I like saying muggle. And that's going to be it. Like, I'm going to go be like...
No, because he was like, I'm gonna go and I'm gonna get the surgery to remove my tail and wings so I can finally leave my apartment because I don't want to be a recluse anymore. Yeah. And I'm gonna get a real job and I'm gonna contribute to this relationship. Good.
Well, I don't think contribute to the relationship. I think he was just about to break up with Baz.
No, they're not gonna break up.
Definitely let us know in the comments if you think that Simon was about to break up with Baz before Penny came storming up with another adventure. Definitely let us know, because we're conflicting, and I don't know. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm very aware of the fact that this may be my depressed self being like, this was going to go badly. Like, it could easily be that.
I say, as I said before, that even if he started to break up with Baz, I really feel like Baz would have run away down the beach screaming, no, I'm not listening.
I can see your hysterical self building, though, so I feel like you're just like, that can't happen. She won't do that to us.
She won't do that. I trust Rainbow with my whole heart.
Well, what I'm hoping I have never been so happy to have, like, Penny cock block, basically. I'm just like, thank you, because if he was about to break up, I was reading this like, don't end on a breakup, don't do this to me.
I was gonna cry.
I was like, don't do this to me. It would have been great, but, like, that was well written, but also why. But, like, Penny running in was so calming, and so what I really hope happens is that there's going to be a third book. That is my hope. And they go have an adventure. And in the middle of that adventure, Simon will realize, I love you, Baz.
I don't know how they didn't say it when freaking Simon got shot down out of the sky.
Baz dealing with thinking Simon was lying dead on the ground, and his going crazy and, like, tearing apart the vampires that did it to Simon.
Literally ripped his head off with his teeth.
That was so painful, because you don't get, like, a description of the emotional pain. You just get what he's doing. And it makes it so much harder because you know what he is feeling.
It's so powerful. That's such a, like, good scene.
Right? I feel like it was almost a better way to do it than just, like, having Baz talk about how miserable he was, because, like, I feel like almost nothing could actually live up to what he's feeling.
Yeah.
So we can just input that based on what he's thinking and what he's doing and the little things that he's saying. And it's like, God, that was a really hard scene. I didn't cry though, because I'm like, nope, nothing happened to Simon. I was completely like in denial.
Same. I was like, oh no, he's fine.
I was in complete denial. I'm
It's
like,
fine.
nope, I'm refusing to accept that. Nope. It's the same thing I did whenever, like, I didn't cry when Sirius died in Order of the Phoenix. I did not cry. All I did and said was, I'm like, well, I'm staying up the rest of the night because he's coming back. Like, I remember being annoyed at Lupin comforting Harry, because I'm like, why are you doing that? He's just behind a freaking curtain. He's gonna pop out.
Literally, I was like, the veil's gotta come out somewhere, right?
That's exactly what I was thinking.
To this day, I'm like, there's gonna be some sort of weird sequel, and he's just gonna pop up and be like, I've been in the veil for 20 years.
Why don't you keep dust behind your curtains? I've been waiting. Like, I just feel like there's gonna be we're gonna go beyond the veil. Like, they were studying it.
Yeah. Totally happens. But Sirius came back, it's fine.
I'm very, very distraught about this. I will never love anyone the way I love Sirius Black. Ever. It's a problem. Which is why I like Baz, because he's got a little bit of that.
Confirmed immortal, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
So, like...
But does that mean that it's going to be the whole, like, Bella Edward?
No, because he's going to turn Simon.
He has to turn
100%.
Simon.
He said in Carry On he was going to do it.
He has to do it,
like,
yeah.
As long as Simon's
like, I'm
cool
going to
with
keep you forever.
Yeah. So it's going to happen.
See, I get
Vampire
all
boyfriends.
just thinking about
so
it.
excited.
Vampire dragon boyfriends.
Well, I think he really is going to remove that.
I don't know if I want that, because the vampire dragon, like, come on. Not that, like...
Making little vampire teeth on it.
Not that, like, I'm too much of a, as you said, mutant sexual, but I might be, so...
I think it gets used out of that tail, probably.
I was thinking the same thing! When Baz like, what do you even do with it? Or whatever. I don't remember exactly.
I was like, you know Baz.
I was like, you know there are things you could do with that tail. Come on.
I'm obsessed with wings, so I really can't even do it. Also, Agatha can do magic without a wand. How cool is that?
She is so powerful.
She's like way more powerful than she ever gave herself credit for. And it's really interesting because
she's always been like the damsel in distress, like princess side character, but apparently she's just been sitting with her like freaking Dumbledore and we didn't know it. And she just uses her like, I love that she just uses her like ability to do like just verbal magic without a wand to light cigarettes. I'm like, you know what? I can't. That's a mood.
The power of Burning Man saved them. I'm sorry, it was
Burning Lad.
I love that.
I like, of all the things to change, you keep the Cheesecake Factory and change Burning Man to Burning Lad. Like, I don't understand, but I also kind of love it.
It's amazing. Maybe it is still called Burning Man, and she's just like annoyingly British. And she's just like, no, it's Burning Lad. And like Ginger's like, okay.
I completely accept this. I completely headcanon accept this.
Oh, and Ewan Morton does the audiobook for it again, and I love him.
He's so great.
Yeah, so if you are into audiobooks at all or whatever, you have to listen to this one.
Yeah.
He sounds a little different than he did in Carry On. I don't know if it's because it's been 4 years and his voice just kind of changed, or if he's like doing it a little differently, but it's really good.
I'll link the book and the audiobook below because I feel like that's like the overall thing. It's just like, please read Fangirl, read Carry On, and read this. You don't have to read Fangirl to read Carry On and Wayward Son, but Fangirl is just such a phenomenal, like, if you're into fantasy literature and lose yourself in it and into, like, YA and into the romance of it, you're going to love Fangirl. I can't see not loving Fangirl because of that.
No.
It's the perfect novel for obsessive people who find their comfort in fiction, and I love it because it doesn't look down on you for it.
Exactly. I actually didn't read Fangirl for a long time because I was like, oh, this is just gonna be like insulting the fangirls the whole time.
Just making fun of them.
Yeah, or like even if it was like underhandedly doing it, I was just like, this is gonna suck. And I'd never read anything by Rainbow up until that point. I didn't know any of her books yet, and this was like 5 or 6 years ago. So I read Fangirl, and then I was like, oh my god, this is like a perfect way to represent fandom and inner self and everything.
And the kind of comfort it can give you that's healthy, like the healthy strength and comfort it can give you. Yeah, it's perfect because like I thought the same thing. I thought the title, I thought it was going to be like making fun of fangirls, and I'm used to people like, we get made fun of all the time.
Yeah.
We have people make it, like I literally have friends I barely talk to anymore because they just make fun of us. Like I can't handle it. And at first I thought it was like friendly ribbing, and it took me a long time to realize, wow, you're just being a dick. We laugh at ourselves. Yeah. That's completely different.
No, you're an actual asshole.
Yeah. And there definitely is, like, some joking about it in Fangirl, but it's definitely that, like, laughing with you, not at you.
Yeah.
Like, it's definitely, like, a love song to fandom and to fan fiction writers and to people that find their comfort in fiction, and it does not look down on you. Like, it's such a comforting book, and it, like, I literally talked about it in therapy, like, 5 times to give you an idea. I just talk about that book all the time. It's so good. So, definitely read Carry On. Definitely read... I would not read Wayward Son without reading Carry On.
Yeah.
Like I said, you don't have to read Fangirl, but I would recommend it because it's so good. It's so perfect. But
except for, did we ever figure out if she says what happens to Baz and Fangirl?
I did look it up. It's like in the FAQs. I was literally like, it's on Rainbow's website in the FAQ. She's like, no, Baz wouldn't die. That wouldn't happen. And I'm like, okay.
She also said this book had a 20-sided love triangle, and that someone dies, and that. What else did she say? Oh, and that it was 29 years later. So, like, she's just a liar.
Rainbow is a fangirl, and she knows it will hurt us because of it, and she loves having that power. It's so obvious. Like, it's so obvious that she's like, I have you all right here, and I can do whatever I want. Let's have fun.
I love her.
I love her so much. Like, this is not an insult toward her.
No.
She's phenomenal.
A compliment and a half.
No, and if she ends up watching this, like, at the book signing we went to, she was sweet enough because I was having a huge panic attack and sensory meltdown and could not leave the car when it came time for the signing portion. And Rainbow's only supposed to personalize 1 book per person, and Cass had her personalized 2 so that I could get a personalized one as well. So thank you, Rainbow, for doing that.
Amanda with anxiety in the car.
That's me. That's what Rainbow knows me as. And thank you for doing that. You're such a good friend.
Also, shameless plug for Rainbow. I've read every book by her now. So ever since reading Fangirl, I immediately went through her entire collection. My favorite is probably the Carry On series still. But Landline was amazing. Like, such an interesting book. I liked Attachments, which I read recently.
Yeah, Landline and Attachments I haven't read yet. Those are on my list.
Yeah, you should. They're really good. Fangirl, obviously. Eleanor and Park is, like,
crushing.
Honestly, one of the best books, like, of all time.
It's
like,
so crushing.
It's perfect.
Ugh.
Like, and just the ending of that book. Oh my god.
I think about the ending all the time.
So good.
It just pops into my head randomly.
So yeah, read everything by Rainbow. But start wherever you want. Just do what you want.
Yeah.
Oh, she also wrote Pumpkinheads, which I haven't read yet. So
she writes for Marvel Comics, like
she's fucking badass.
She's a goddess again. We love her.
So
Oh, this is just turning into like a Rainbow Rowell appreciation video. We've literally been talking for an hour.
Good luck editing that. Also, I'm really glad in the epilogue that it wasn't actually Simon dying.
Yes.
It was like the dying of his emotional being, and like the ending of the last book, like tying into like him dying.
Yeah, it was like that self dying.
That self, yeah. So, like, because it scared me, because it started, like, and Simon Snow's dying, and I was like, wait, what? What happened to Simon Snow?
It's very cruel.
They're
cruel books. Cruel. Again, she likes to hurt us, so.
But we love it.
Yeah, so, if you haven't read it, I mean, you probably should not have listened to this whole video.
True. But we did warn you.
We did warn you. Definitely, like, find her on social media, respond to us in the comments, because we want to talk about this book with everybody who loves this book, because there's too many feelings to contain to just one relationship conversation.
I feel like there's definitely stuff we're not talking about too.
Yeah, no, definitely. We'll probably end up doing other follow-up videos on this because we're pathetic.
Like, I'm 100% sure there's stuff
we didn't take notes. This was just us babbling.
Yeah. If we had notes, it might not have been as good, because I feel like it wouldn't have been as emotional.
That's the thing. I'm like, we're just, like, when we start talking about something, like, I'd like to say that I'm an introvert until my fandoms are brought up.
That's true. Maybe it's also because, like, when we text about it, it looks like more.
Yeah.
Because we'll send, like, novels of, like,
basically,
summarization.
We write book reports.
Yeah, we do.
All the time. No, all this, like, complaining out of her is with love, and we know she'd just sit here cackling.
No, yeah, it's not even a little bit serious of, like, complaint. I love her so much.
No. The whole, like, why haven't they said I love you? Of course they have it. It makes perfect sense.
Yeah, no, it's completely,
you can't get a book with
perfectly
no conflict.
written. Yeah,
no.
Like, there's no way that this book was going to be fluffy. Like,
so, Rainbow, you did the right thing. We love you.
You're amazing.
And we hate you. And you know you love that we hate you. That is all for this video. I will be back soon to talk about more pop culture and mental health. And I will probably have her on quite a bit to fangirl and geek out because that is what we do. That's our relationship.
It's true.
Food and fandom, nothing else matters.
Oh, and there's a lot of food in this fandom.
So much food. That's
Cheesecake
part of what I love
Factory.
about it. Yeah,
It's
no.
so American.
This makes me want the Cheesecake Factory so bad.
One of my favorite lines, though, this burger tastes like America.
This burger tastes like America.
This burger tastes like America.
Oh my god.
Best line in the whole book.
He's just... I know it's on an AU, but oh my god, he's a Gryffindor. He's such a Gryffindor. He's like Ron with chicken wings. Or chicken legs. He's definitely Ron with chicken legs. Just... He's... Oh my god. I feel like Baz is like Ron and Draco's baby, and like Simon is Ron and Harry's baby. And I don't know how that's possible, but I'm kind of here for it.
I just love them.
I
I
love
can't
them
even
so
like
much.
compare them to anything else.
I know, I just keep petting the book.
Also, the damn polecat.
So stupid.
What animal is this?
Of course he's so not a Ravenclaw. Like, Simon Snow would not know what a skunk is.
No, right?
He's such not a Ravenclaw. He would also be trying to pick his Hogwarts letter out of the air instead of off the ground. 100%. God, he's such an idiot.
Reminds me of, what's his name? Snoop Dogg. When he does the National Geographic.
Oh, yeah,
What
yeah.
is these animals? I'm just like reading the book.